All right, we're going to do a caravan of love today. Good morning, CSL. Good morning. So at Center for Spiritual Living, Fort Lauderdale, we decided a while back that we have 7 things that we stand up for and we are most valued, that are most valued for us in the world. They are our core values. We bring them to mind every single service and we highlight one of them. Our core values at CSL are love and healing and oneness and abundance and spiritual growth and service and diversity. And the core value that we're highlighting today is abundance. Abundance. One of my best friends has sickle cell anemia. He was born with it, and so was his brother. My friend is a little over 50 years old, which is kind of a walking miracle. He has to have complete blood transfusions every 7 to 8 weeks just to stay alive. And I saw a 60-minute program a while back about this new CRISPR technology. It's fascinating in medical science. It's sort of a cut and paste like you would do on a Word document. And they're able to sort of cut and paste the genes inside your body. And this new technology is so promising that it looks as though it could cure sickle cell anemia and HIV and many other things. Medical science is pretty fabulous. So I had a conversation with him after I watched it, and I said, can you imagine your life without ever having to deal with sickle cell? Can you imagine being completely healed and healthy and never having to think about that ever again? And he said, honestly, it's hard for me. It's hard for me because I've had it my whole life. And I said, well, this is our challenge, isn't it? Is to stop accommodating our limitations. We get so accustomed to accepting the limitations in our life, it becomes all so hard to imagine not having them at all. So I suggested that he begin to frame in his mind a day in his life when he could wake up and be healed, healthy, and whole again without ever having to manage this disease. This is what I believe is the abundant nature of life. I believe that we are intended and created for all that is good all of the time. But we have to open our minds to the possibilities of that good. So I ask you this week, open your mind to the possibility of perfect wholeness. Open your mind to the possibility of abundant riches. Open your heart to the greatest love of your life. Abundance is our core value. How old are you? That's what the guy behind the counter at the 7-Eleven asked me when I told him I wanted to buy a pack of Marlboro Reds. It was 1970. I was 13 years old. You do the math. You can figure it out. Back then, anyone could buy cigarettes, so I'm like wondering, why are you even asking me this? I started smoking when I was 13 because I wanted to look cool, and I thought it would look cool to do this. And plus, I wanted to look older. I quit smoking 20 years later because it didn't seem so cool and I looked old enough, thank you very much. How old are you? That's a question you don't ask a proper lady or a gay man, trust me. And you never, ever, ever answer the question, how old do you think I look? Because that's a trap. If someone asks you how old you think they look, here's my advice. Lie to them, always lie. Yes. Tell them they look 10 years younger than you actually think they do, otherwise you might get your face slapped. There is no doubt that we are a youth-loving culture. That's not exactly true. That's not correct. We are actually a youth-worshiping culture. All you have to do is look at magazine covers or TV anchors. Let me ask you a question. What do you think the average age of a TV news reporter is in America? 39. That's right. That's the average age. And that's because we don't like seeing old people on TV. We don't want wrinkled-skinned people in our living rooms. We want fresh faces and firm bodies. Now, in many Eastern cultures, elders are treated with respect and dignity. They're seen actually as a source of wisdom and experience. Who knew? But not so much here in the West. We don't view our elders as a resource. We see them as a burden on society with high medical costs that young workers have to bear. Our elders aren't even seen. We don't even look at them after a certain age. Ask any woman of a certain age or any gay man after 35, if you turned heads when you walked into a room when you were younger, as you got older, all of a sudden you started noticing fewer heads were turning when you walked in that door, until one day you walk in that door and you are completely invisible. You can walk in and nobody even knows you're there. You're like the character in the play Chicago who sang, Mr. Cellophane should have been my name, Mr. Cellophane, 'cause you can look right through me, walk right by me, and never know I'm there. Watch out, I'm replacing you. A few weeks ago after our service started, I was standing in the aisle and I noticed this very attractive woman walking to her seat. And if I had to guess, maybe she's 70, 75 years old. And I was so taken by her that I went up and I said, "You are so beautiful." And she looked me straight in the eyes and she said, "Do you have any idea how long it's been since anyone has said that to me?" And I said, "Too long. Too long, I'm afraid." Now, a funny thing happens when you ask elderly people to close their eyes and think about their age. If you didn't know how old you are, how old would you think you were? Many people say, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30. And that's because we're not really aging. We're not really getting any older. You see, we're inside this body. Our spirit is ageless and timeless, so the greater part of you, which, by the way, is the true essence of who you are, is gathering experience and wisdom as you go through this life, but never, ever, ever gets old. Your spirit is like energy. It can't be destroyed, it can't deteriorate, it can't get sick, and it can't die ever. Ever. And that's something that you're going to want to remember, because as your body ages, this old world of ours is very happy to convince you that every single day you are alive and getting older, that your worth and value is being diminished and decreasing. And that you're not supposed to be well, because after a certain age you're supposed to be ill, and that you're not really a candidate for love anymore. And all of that, my friends, is total BS. Total BS. You know what BS is? It's an acronym for belief system. Now, for some people, there's undertone of fear and despair as the body ages, and many of them are anxious to share their wisdom and despair. A few years back when I was in my 50s, one person said to me, "Oh my God, just wait till you're 60. At 60, everything falls apart. You never say, oh, it's horrible after then." Even my own mother said to me, she said, "Don't let them fool you, honey. These aren't the golden years. They're the rust years." I'm like, thank you, Mother. All BS. Belief system. In our book of the month, Living the Science of Mind, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, said this: "Youth is not a time in life, it's a state in mind. It's a state of mind. You are as young as your faith, as old as your doubts, as young as your confidence, as old as your fear, as young as your hope, and as old as your despair." You see, it's not time that ages us, it's the choices we make along the way, either consciously or unconsciously. As I've said before, becoming old and bitter is so done, and it's what's trending if you want to fall into the trend, because you can see it every day. Old people who've lost their enthusiasm and joy for living, who've stopped looking forward in their lives to something new and exciting, but instead want to look back in melancholy at what's already happened. People who've lost their faith and fallen victim to fear. It is so done. It's like the story of the barrel of crabs. You know, if you have a barrel of crabs, you don't have to put a lid on it because they can't escape. And that's because if one of them makes its way to the top, all the others pull it down. And that's what happens to you every single day you're alive on this planet. If you don't take time to buoy your spirit, to lift yourself above the fears and doubts of the unconscious masses, which are called the great unwashed in India, you will quickly get pulled down into the fear-based existence that bitter old people live in every day. And my friend, it won't take long before your body starts to show signs of that thinking too, because the body is solely created by the mind. When I was a younger man in my 30s, I was asking the question, why am I here? What am I supposed to do here? And so I decided I would take this intentional living workshop. And one of the exercises was to consider what would be said about you at your own funeral. The question was, how do you want to have lived your life? And I thought, well, this is perfect. It definitely followed the 7 habits of highly effective people, which is begin with the end in mind, and that's what I was doing. So I tried to fast forward to the end of my life and considered what was my life about. And I came up with a simple statement that summed up the whole life of Chris Michaels. And maybe these words will be said about me at my funeral someday. This is what I once said about Chris Michaels. He lived well, and he taught others to do the same. I want to live well. I want to be happy and healthy and prosperous until the day comes when I set this body down and leave. I want to surround myself with beautiful people, people who own themselves, people who understand their worth and value when they walk in the room. And that's what beauty is to me. It doesn't come from the shape of a body. It comes from the purity of a heart and the clarity of a mind. I want to teach others the truth of who they are and then live long enough to watch that truth take hold in their lives, transforming them into the powerful people that nature and God designed them to be. And I'd like to be known for that, for being a way shower and a truth teacher. How about you? What do you want to be known for? At the end of your life, what do you want others to say about you? What is the greatest thing you have ever accomplished? Have you started a business? Have you built an empire? Have you amassed a fortune? Have you created a family? And if you didn't do any of that, did you at least marry well? Last year before Veterans Day, I went up to this guy. Somebody told me he's a vet, and apparently he wasn't. I said, hey, you're a veteran, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran of 3 marriages. I got 3 ex-wives. Does that count? Do you think it matters to God who you marry or what you do with your life? When you consider all that is going on in the infinitely expanding universe, do you think that what you accomplish here is significant enough to warrant the attention of the cosmos? If every single thing that you build can be wiped away in just a few minutes by nature, then what is the sense of building anything? If everything you've ever said and done is forgotten in a few weeks, a few months, or a few years after you're gone, then what's the sense of saying or doing anything? Maybe we should forget about building things and accomplishing things and just go sit on the beach with a margarita. Don't worry, I'm not depressed. I'm not going to be completely fatalistic this morning. I'm just trying to get you to see that your value doesn't come from anything you do. You're not valuable because you have more money than other people, or you build a big business, or because you have kids. And you're not less valuable if you don't do any of those things. You see, the ego wants to calculate and assess your worth based on accomplishments and accolades. So if you have a stack of degrees or a stack of money, then the ego says, jolly good. You've done something worthwhile with your life. You know what? You have something to show for it. You have something to show for your life. Whenever I hear that, it makes me question, who are we showing? Who are we trying to impress? The infinite presence of the universe? So the question remains, what decides a woman's worth? How can a man live an accomplished life? Maybe the answer is found in how we live every day of our lives. Eckhart Tolle had something to say about that. He said, most people's lives are run by desire and fear. Desire and fear, going between the two of them. You know, desire is the need to add something to your life to make you feel more valuable. If I had this, then I would feel more valuable. And then fear is about losing something that you had that you thought was valuable, so now you feel less valuable. And so we teeter-totter between these two emotions and motivations, one throwing us up in the sky with joy when we get exactly what we said we wanted, and then dropping us down to the hard ground in misery when we lose the thing we wanted to keep. Who do you think you are? I cannot tell you how many times people have asked me that. Who do you think you are, Chris Michaels? And my answer is, I am consciousness creating experience. That's who I am. And when I use the word consciousness in this context, I mean with a capital C. The consciousness of the universe, the self-knowing nature of God, or conscious infinite mind. That's who I am. That's who you are. You're not a creation of God living a separate life from it. You're the creator living through its creation. You haven't been left down here by some deity who's gone home to watch over you. There is no deity. All there is consciousness. The aliveness of God, the living, breathing spirit that animates your body. You are consciousness creating experience. That's who you are. I want to close today with a poem. Since I've already sang, I guess I'll do poetry next. This poem is by Annette Powell Cotter. You probably don't know her, maybe you've never heard of her. She was a Southern poet. She was a country music songwriter. She was born in Alabama. I didn't know her, but a friend of mine who turned 80 shared this poem with me and gave me a copy of it. Annette passed away at 73 years old in 2014, but here is the wisdom she left behind for you. The poem is titled, Standing Behind This Face. Standing behind this face, you might imagine a person with no aesthetic sensibilities at all. How I parade around this way with the deepening wrinkles, horizontal and now vertical, crisscrossing, the dewlaps, the pale, penny-colored spots, and the mouth with radiating lines stitched round like a buttonhole. If I were a more correct person, I would instruct you with pride how a face like this has to be earned by bearing up, enduring, living through the vicissitudes, the births, the deaths, the terrible choices. But I merely say, life can beat the sweetness right out of you. Standing behind this face, every encounter is a case of mistaken identity. On this side of the face, I remain the vibrant 17-year-old, not in memory, but in this moment. I expect respect. I do not expect to be humored, talked down to, or pitied. You must see, I am still who I have always been. You must see how I feel standing behind this face. Don't let the age of your body dictate the condition of your spirit. You are more than an aging body. You are an eternal spirit. You are consciousness creating experience. And so ends the lesson. Thank you. All the elders applauded for you on Facebook Live. In every relationship, there's a time to lead and a time to follow. That same truth applies to your relationship with Spirit. Not a deity who lives apart from you, but an indwelling presence that lives inside of you, through and around you. We spend a lot of our days talking and doing and making and arranging and strategizing and forcing. We spend so little time listening, being open, being available to what needs to be done. This is the time in our service when we do exactly that. We close our eyes so that we're not judged or judging by appearances. We open our hearts and our minds to the revelation, to the communication directly from the divine.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. Spirit meets me there. Spirit meets me there.
Without a mirror to reflect the image of a body that I occupy, with my eyes closed and turning away from all physicality of life, I can't feel the perimeter of my being. I can't sense how old I am, because I'm not any age. My mind has memory of things that happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, sometimes 40 years ago, like it happened yesterday. Because my spirit lives in the eternal now, where all things are happening simultaneously. We can't be defined by what has happened to us or what condition we are in today. We return home to Spirit, to that indwelling presence that is alive and well right now, that is ageless and timeless and enthusiastic and full of love and excitement and joy for the next day. We must become as little children again and find our enthusiasm and our joy for living. Let's be still and find that place now. Every time the planet spins, the sun rises on one side and sets on the other. A new day has come, a new opportunity for Spirit to express something brand new. The planet doesn't know how old it is. My dog doesn't know how old he is. He just gets up every day and starts the day anew. Why don't you forget how old you are? And remember, your spirit is ageless and timeless. And so it is.
I breathe out, I breathe in, I am still, I go within. When I quiet my mind, in the stillness I find. me there. Spirit meets me there.
We close our service as we always do with affirmations and prayers. Your affirmation card is just like mine. Would you say it aloud with me, please? My spirit is eternal and ageless, so I can never get old. Let's know this together. The intelligence at the helm of the universe is a perfect intelligence. It was initiated and everything in the universe because it wanted to love. Love is the rocket fuel of creation. It is why you are here. It's why I'm here. We're in the midst of a perfect life that is forever unfolding eternally in the now moment. There is no time, there is no age, there is no old. Everything is made new every single day. Behold, I make all things new. Wake up each day, claiming the truth of the universe. Everything is new today. Every cell in my body is new. Every opportunity for good is new. Everything is here that I could possibly need to live well, happy, prosperous, and healthy every single day. I choose to be in this form, and then I set it down and return to spirit as I came, wrapped in the arms of love. I am not an old person. I am an eternal spirit, consciousness creating experience. And I love it. That's the truth of me. It's the truth of you. It's the truth of all of us. We are blessed. We are blessed. And so it is. We'll see you again next time here at CSL Fort Lauderdale, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. I will not be singing next week, I promise. Have a great week. Aww. Thank you for watching, and thanks for supporting CSL. If you'd like to know more about us, check us out on our website or social media. Blessings.